The Man in Line with Andy Wint.
Fast am I. Good afternoon. Welcome to Man in Line on Max Radio. Open line through to 1. It's a pre-Tynwald Day Man in Line today, so I must point out I'm going to be talking to a lot of the politicians tomorrow as they wend their way. Top hat and tail, new hat to Tynwald Hill. So maybe if you've got a question or two I can pose tomorrow morning, then by all means, jot a note to studio@manxradio.com. Text 166 177. WhatsApp, same number. Call 66 13 68. Manx Care says drafting in a private provider to run Summerhill View residential care home is a really good value solution. It's refused to disclose how much the contract awarded to LV Care Group is worth or how many other providers actually tendered for the opportunity. Got any thoughts? Text, email, call, WhatsApp. David's on now. Hi, David.
Hi, Randy. Good value for money. So how do we know if they don't disclose what the contract value was, what the terms and conditions of the contract for running Summerhill Views for the Manx taxpayer? This is an agency that's running it, probably at an arm's length distance, like the other things like the steam packet and the housing board. How can we ask questions? How can we find out information? What's the cost going to be of being a resident there? And what are they going to do with the staff from Retna Bay? All those things need to be answered. And why is it taking till November when the place is ready to move in?
You just wonder, because at some point we'll know, won't we? At some point it may take a freedom of information request, but this is going to come out, so we'll know. So you just wonder, why not just say now?
Yes. It'll be on the balance sheet of what they call themselves, the LV Care Group.
LV Care Group, yeah. Yeah,
it'll be on their balance sheet, won't it? When they have their AGM or whatever they do, and it'll say we've got a contract in the Isle of Man, and the value is going to be what, 2 million? I don't know how much it's going to run a year. And the biggest front that I have is to those people who are in Retna Bay is they've got to wait till November, and is the structure for financing it going to be the same as what Retna Bay was, or are they going to start putting their 10 or 50% on top of the bill?
Well, I presume this is the same LV Care Group that run Craven Court in Ramsey.
Well, I don't know. I've not really researched them totally, but you would have thought that, question to ask the Minister tomorrow at Tynwald Day, isn't it? What about the openness and transparency of government and your department, which you're in control of?
Well, LV Care Group's based in Jersey. They're in St Helier in Jersey, although they do have an office in Tramode, in Cars Lane in Tramode.
Oh, right.
So they have got an office here, but they run Craven Court, and now have got the contract for this new one.
Yeah.
But as you say, lots of questions to be asked.
And the answers need to be given to those people who will be listening now to say, oh, they're going to open it, but we're waiting until November. When it's windy, raining all the time, you could get snow, couldn't we? Do you really want to move people in that time of the year?
And surely there's going to be, what do they call them, a service level agreement, an SLA, whereby, and it will be just nice to know that, and in the spirit of transparency, sure. And the trouble is, if things like this aren't said, there will be people who will just think that there's something to hide. As you say, they'll speculate.
Yeah, and that's not good for us. It's not good on people who are listening from across, although they're all running for the election at the minute. But there will be people listening to Manx Radio worldwide and think, what does happen here? What's going on with our island? We either used to live here or we still have relations here.
You wonder, don't you? Well,
big question mark.
Well, we'll see, but it will be nice. And at some point, it is going to come out. So why not say it right at the very beginning? Just be upfront so people actually know.
Yeah, you've got to do these things. And a little teaser too, I'm led to believe there's a big document that's come out from the DOI regarding services and stuff like that. And I'd like to find, if anybody's got a copy of it, if they give us a call, I'll borrow it, because I've not been sent one. But there was loads of people talking to this morning that they've been sent them. Some of them have sent them back already. And I just wonder what the DOI are up to regarding services and what's happening.
Be nice to know. Okay, thanks for that, David. Good to hear from you. All right, it's 12 minutes past 12. Have you seen this? Is the big story about LV Care, who are taking over Summerhill View, the old Glenside Summerhill View. A fortune's been spent on. I mean, an absolute fortune. We spoke to the Executive Director of Social Care, Mental Health and Safeguarding, who is Tim O'Neill, Professor Tim O'Neill from this. And, well, it's interesting. You may be interested just to see what Tim O'Neill had to say about this whole situation. So the old Glenside becomes Summerhill View. You may remember Teresa Cope, the chief executive of Manx Care, was on saying, we're not going to run it. We're going to get somebody else in to run it. It's LV Care Group, the people who run Craven Court in Ramsey, based in Jersey, but they do have an office here. This is Professor Tim O'Neill, Executive Director, Social Care, Mental Health and Safeguarding.
And of course, quality of care is not just about levels of staffing. It's also about the quality of staff that are in the care setting. It's about the support we give to the provider, and it's about the wraparound services around the home as well. So we're equally as focused on that as we are on the numbers of staff.
So do we have an actual figure on the number of staff, though?
I can't give you a figure for that today, no, because it's wrapped up into the contract.
Right, OK. What would you say to people who might be thinking we're paying increased tax, which is meant to be funding the health service, but there seems to be more and more privatisation creeping in?
Yeah, I understand residents' concerns, and Riatna Bay has provided a fabulous home for residents for a number of years. This is a good value solution for taxpayers. I've been in post a few months now, and I'm fully focused on the best value solutions for taxpayers on the island, of whom I'm now one. And I can confidently tell you that this is a good value for money solution. Residential care is not cheap to provide. It's an expensive provision, which we're delighted to be providing through LV. And we think we've come up with a good value for money solution.
Let's come to the expense to run a facility like this. Manx Care's chief executive has previously said it would cost the health service a substantial amount of additional funding to staff a nursing home. So that indicates a cost-benefit analysis has taken place. What does substantial mean? What is the figure on that if Manx Care was to run it itself?
Yeah, I haven't got a figure on that, but what I can tell you is Teresa's absolutely right that from our point of view, this is a really good value solution. I'll just give you some detail to that. We're able to purchase 45 beds plus 15 beds, but we're also able to cost control in terms of the staffing levels through the contract.
With all due respect, though, how can you tell the Isle of Man's public that you absolutely have value for money here, but we don't have any details about the value of the contract or even a figure about how much it would cost the health body to run the facility itself?
So, Christian, you'll know that this is part of a much wider discussion around our budget and driving towards value for money. Part of my job is to do that. And I'm confident that this is a solution that provides the best value for money it could possibly do at this point in time. I'm happy to talk to listeners about that in more detail moving forward. From my point of view, having been in post for a few months, I'm confident this is the right solution.
Will this be staffed solely by Isle of Man residents, or do you anticipate there'll be further outsourcing of staff from the UK and elsewhere?
Again, that's up to LV to decide. What we're making sure the contract delivers is high quality staffing through the contract. So that's to a degree up to LV to decide as an independent provider. There may be opportunities for staffing from Riatna Bay, for example, to work for LV, but that's obviously not in our domain and not in our control. Tim
O'Neill, that is. He's a Professor Tim O'Neill from the health bodies from Manx Care's Executive of Social Care, Mental Health and Safeguarding. It's good value for money, he tells us. It's good value for money. Take my word for it. It's good value for money. Well, at some point, we'll know how much it's going to cost. With so many MHKs, why don't we have individual ministers for tourism, education and sporting instead of one person having too many departments to look after, says Malcolm. Some messages that were left over from yesterday. Got lots of messages yesterday also regarding the postal issue, regarding delays for postal votes for the UK election, which apparently is going on today. And regarding foot passengers on the steam packet, £75 round trip. Now, it used to be cheaper. That's trying to book months in advance, says Texter 144. £75, £37.50 each way as a foot passenger to Liverpool or Heysham. How does that stack up for you? What do you think about that? Why doesn't the steam packet have the policy like hotels where unbooked capacity is offered cheap, says D? Why not just sell that stuff? I'm sick of people, Ian, is it Ian? Oh, sorry, Jan. Hi, Jan, 126. I'm sick of people moaning about the steam packet fares. Do they think the boat runs on fresh air and all the staff work for free, says Jan? Well, dissatisfaction with CalMac ferries has never been higher, apparently, says Liz. I think Eddie mentioned yesterday been cruising around the islands of Scotland and it was cheap, but apparently, and of course, they've still got those ferries that aren't built and are way over budget and nowhere near being finished. But that's another story for the Scottish Executive. And also, it's good commercial sense to increase visitor numbers by cruise ships, day trips, any means we can think of. But there's got to be something to buy and places to go. This is Texter 828. The visitors aren't going to just empty their pockets at the sea terminal and turn around and go home. Tourism is another term for money extraction. We need more means of extraction. Well, say what you mean, 828. Again, it's a question, isn't it? Do you think there's enough for tourists? And particularly if you have guests or friends, relatives coming to the Isle of Man, where do you take them? What are they impressed by? And do you know everything? It's often said that, you know, we're not the best advocates for the Isle of Man because we live here all the time and we don't know what would appeal to somebody from across. And half the time we don't know things. How often have you gone somewhere and thought, I didn't know this existed? Your last corner, Eddie, this is Jason who said, spot on, Eddie, there were two government reps at the talk. Why can't somebody from either government or the MUA explain the forecast 150 gigawatt plus we'll get from wind turbines when the expert says it's a lot less? There's been no response from anybody in government. This is about the meeting about renewables that was on a couple of weeks ago, and we had Paul Burgess on to talk about it. I'd like to add about the travel costs, says Woody on 602. Whilst my mother was over, she said to the minister, your steam package should fly the Skull and Crossbones as a marketing exercise. He laughed. Free day trips from Liverpool on certain days would boost it, and also free alcohol. Well, there you lose me, Woody, but we see the point. Incentives, I think we're talking about. At the moment, there's one price and you have to pay it. And years ago, do you remember, there were discounts. You remember, I think it was at book 5 and get one free. Now, not so much. And we own it, apparently. I posted birthday cards to Dublin first class on the 19th of June, says Cliff, and they still haven't got them. Text us 348. It's just about the postal service at the moment. It had an impact with people trying to get postal votes together for the UK election and not quite getting there. BB 027. Andy, I'm a recovering cancer patient and had an appointment at the hospital yesterday. Notice saying masks must be worn. Due to my condition, I had mine on, but nobody else did. No staff. Is that true, 027? I thought you had to wear. Now, what do they define as a clinical situation? Is that face-to-face with a medical professional, or is it whizzing up and down the corridor or in the coffee shop? And Paul Q, 507 Paul Q, it's not just mail from the UK to the Isle of Man that takes an age. 4 weeks ago, I posted a letter from Onken. It took 8 days to reach the recipient. And this is not South Africa. This is not even Germany or Holland or Sweden. This is not Ireland. Ramsey. 8 days, Onken to Ramsey. The Isle of Man Post Office try and blame the fact that there's no more airmail service, but this was a local letter. It was a Manx letter on to Ramsey. The post office service, I think, is a disgrace, both on and off the Isle of Man. On another subject, don't stay too long at Tynwald. The Ravens kick off the season with a friendly against Brackley Town at 6:30 on Friday. Did you know that? The Ravens have moved their game because of, apparently, there was a match on Saturday night. I think it's England. England, isn't it? England versus somebody? Oh, Switzerland, that's it. So the Ravens are now welcoming Brackley Town this Friday night. Kickoff is at 6:30 at the Bowl, and it's the first pre-season fixture. Been moved forward by 24 hours, so the conspiracy continues. 6:30, the Ravens take on Brackley Town at the Bowl. Let's get to the lines now. Paddy's on now. Hi, Paddy.
Hi, Andy.
Hi, Paddy.
Andy, could I make a comment, please, on the structure of the nursing home fees? Is there any control by government on what they charge?
Well, it depends. I mean, if they're going to run it as a private operator, I'm assuming they're going to have to take a certain number of, if you like, state care residents, and then they'll be maybe given a certain portion to sell off themselves. I don't know because I've not seen the contract, but I know certainly at Salisbury Street that's what happens.
Yeah, but Andy, the trouble is if there's no control, like so the nursing home fees in the Isle of Man, I won't mention nursing home in particular, but it's the extra charge, so you haven't got the exact amount. It's increased by about 30% in one move. And do they all follow suit? In other words, if there's no government control on it, whatever these people are going to charge up at the running the next nursing home, they'll all be private in the end, and that way they can charge whatever they want.
The trouble is,
there's no control.
Trouble is, Paddy, at the moment it's a seller's market. I mean, there just aren't enough spaces in care homes at the moment.
So therefore, the government don't want to build anymore. Then is that the case?
Well, the government built it. I mean, Summerhill View that we paid for that, £14 million. The old Glenside.
Yeah, I thought it best that the government keep control of it, because if one nursing home is charging, say, 30% more or 20% more than another private nursing home, it keeps the price down a bit. As it is now, as you just said, it's like a seller's market. If one nursing home is private and they charge 1,500. The other ones are going to say, we'll charge 1,500. It's like up and up all the time.
Well, you just wonder, and as I say, I think the company that runs Salisbury Street is called Adorn, and they run that. And the government built that, the old Salisbury Street bus station, which is now a care home. So, but at the moment, I don't know whether there's any restriction, any limit on the profit that a private operator can make if they're using a state facility.
Yeah, that's the question, Dave. I think the government should start looking at this now, because I've not mentioned the nursing home my sister's in, but the increase is being it's nearly doubled in 5 years. It's crazy. It's crazy amount of money.
I know some of the people who are in the care home business, and they say their main cost is staff and getting staff. And
I'd like to see their books. I'm sure their books. I think I looked at this particular nursing home. I can't mention the name, obviously.
Well,
I looked at their books 4 years ago or 3 years ago, and their profit margin was 4 million, I think it was, for 1 year.
Okay. Well, thank you for not mentioning it, but we take the point. And the thing is, though, that Paddy, if there's public money involved in this, if it's a building we've bought and paid for, then surely we should know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, quite agree.
Okay, all right. We appreciate that, Paddy. Thanks for that.
Bye for now.
Good to talk to you. Howard's with us now. Hi, Howard.
Oh, hello, Andy. That was quick. No, just listen to David to start with on the Summerhill View. There's been no indication as to the type of accommodation that's there. It looks a fine place, because I took my wife up there where they had the COVID jabs in the reception area, but you obviously didn't get a chance to have a wander around. Now, I've said this once before on your programme, and it's a number of years ago. My auntie and uncle, they'd been married for over 60 years, living in Union Mills, but when they both became old, infirm, they went to Elder Grange. Now, I'm not saying any fault with the Elder Grange itself. They were pretty well looked after, considering. But there was I think there was only a couple or three double rooms. Bearing in mind that my auntie and uncle had been married over 60 years, they were then separated into separate rooms. And, of course, this then doubled the charges. Now, what are the facilities? We've heard nothing about the Summerhill. Are the people who are in Redna Bay, if they are married, will they have the ability or the possibility of moving into a double room?
Well, I mean, the people who are running it, the LV Care or maybe the department, maybe has spoken already to the people at Albert Terrace. Maybe they said what, so we don't know. But it will be nice to know. I mean, if it were a private home, it will be none of our business, Howard. But the trouble is, it's we paid for this.
Yes. Well, and indirectly, you say there, if it's a private home, you'll be paying through your pension. Everyone's taken off you when you go in. And my other auntie, she was up in Glenside, and they used to give her what they call comfort money. Her pension was taken full time off her, and then she was given so much back to buy small things that she needed, personal things, and that was what they termed as comfort money. But if you're a private person and you're paying individually, then yes. But the majority of the people who are in these homes, they're paid by the government, which is the people of the island, because the government, as we all know, have no money of their own.
Yeah.
So I sent you a WhatsApp message in there before with David asking a question about the same thing. If the people are asking for information and they go through the FOI, then you're going to get the same answer from the government that it is commercially sensitive and they can't disclose it. So you're not going to get any information or proper information from anybody. But the question asked is, what facilities are there? Are they all individual rooms? Elder Grange, I think, had a number, not a large number by any means. It was only in single figures. But as I say, when my auntie and uncle went in, I think it was about £700 a week or something like that they were paying. Because they were in two rooms, it was double. So you could say they were paying £1,400 a week. I don't know what the amounts are nowadays. It is expensive, but again, it's 24-hour care. But it doubled because the lack of facilities for married couples to be in the same room. So it'd be interesting to see if anybody would come on and give information of what has been built. And one thing I can't understand, why do they put chimneys on all those, every one of the little buildings there when, well, that sort of facilities is done away with now? Is it just a design factor that built in an extra cost to it? Because you look at it as you drive past, each one of those has got a chimney or an imitation chimney.
Yeah.
So, you wonder how much money's been wasted on it. And I say, when we were up there, they got the little fiddly lights in the reception area, and they're almost about 2 candle power. It's they're cutting down on some things and wasting money on a lot of others.
Well, 14 odd million pounds.
15.
Oh my word!
That's what they're quoting.
It's gone up already.
It's only £1 million. Don't worry about it.
Yes, what's £1 million between friends? Thanks for calling today.
Okay, take care.
Good to hear from you. Lisa says, Andy, quoting the report on your website, the Manx National Farmers Union is calling on farmers to withhold payments to the government following a significant increase in fallen stock and meat plant waste charges. Have we heard anything from the DOI responding to the MNFU's call for action? Did Tim O'Neill answer any questions? Says WhatsApper 839 appeared to go round in circles and not answer anything. Well, he didn't say how much it cost. That was the important thing. But he said I think basically the gist was, trust us. The information on the LV contract is, if requested by the FOI, will retrieve the standard answer from the government in that it is commercially sensitive. There's the message, Howard. Thank you. Helen, would you be able to give out the telephone number for Isle of Man Bank again? I was driving yesterday and wasn't able to make a note. We've had numerous emails and letters threatening to close our account, where we are A to Z Plumbing, fine company, had a long-standing account with Isle of Man Bank. We used to have a visit every year from our account manager. It stopped. Now it's impossible to contact anybody. Thank you, Helen. I'll get that from the archives. You just wonder, don't you? It was said that now apparently they're going to stop the heavy-handed stuff. But who thought this up in the first place? Somebody somewhere paid a big fat wage, thought this would be the idea to threaten basically companies like Helen's company, hard-working Manx company, and threaten them with all sorts of things because apparently they need to know who they are, but they know who they are already. But obviously the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand. The only way the steam packet would reduce their prices is through competition, says Mark, and surely that isn't likely. And regarding Dave and Lynn in Ballabeg, hello Dave and Lynn, our tourist industry and visitors, we have a list of all the places to go. And tick them off when you've been. My father-in-law is 96, just left after a 3-week visit. We covered as much as we could, and there's still some left to do. An amazing visit and good for locals too. And if the steam packet didn't give their employees and their families really cheap travel fares, perhaps the cost of for the rest of us paying customers, we wouldn't have to pay as much, says Stuart. It is part of their terms and conditions, Stuart. I mean, that's the answer. It's always been, historically, that's been the answer. But you get the point that there did used to be incentives for buying steam packet tickets. Was it buy 5 and get 1 free? I think there was something like that. Regarding the nursing home contract, firstly, what happened to open and transparent, as we heard constantly during the elections? But why build a complicated building like this is Summerhill Views, and then look for an operator? Most operators like things in a way that suits them. So you have to wonder how many modifications will be needed to suit LV's way of working. Perhaps that was why they're not opening until November. Thank you to that WhatsApper. False chimneys are usually required in order to meet planning requirements, so they blend in with the existing buildings. Let's get to the lines again. And Tony B's on now. Hi, Tony.
How you doing, Andy?
Very well, thanks.
I've got a conundrum. We've got somebody on the radio, Professor somebody, I don't know who he is, and I've never heard of him before, but he's obviously somebody who's got something to do with this. But I'm more concerned about, was there a tender for this service to be given out, and what were the terms of the tender, which should be public? And if they've already signed a contract, why can he just give us assurances and not say, here, I'll publish the contract? Is that because they don't want us to know? Or is that just because I don't know myself, but I think it's a good idea, I've been told to say that?
Well, it certainly doesn't come under the heading of transparency.
Well, no, it's not just that. It's just we're expected to take somebody's word for it. It's like, well, you don't need to know. I mean, this is an absolute disgrace, this government. Alf Cannon said we were going to have open and transparent government. And this isn't open or transparent. And it's a bit questionable when you get somebody who I've never heard of before, but he's obviously somebody important in the rigmarole of government. And I don't know who Professor is. Does he live here? Is he part of the team? Or is he just one of the many hangers-on we've got that we're paying for that don't do anything except tell us it's all good, don't worry about it? I've got it in hand. I don't know who he is. I haven't got a clue.
Well, it just, as I say, it doesn't come under the heading of transparency. We were promised this. It was going to be a brave new world. And at the moment, this is something we paid for out of our taxes. And a private company, although they're experienced on the Isle of Man, there's a private company that's now going to run it. And it is a very, very nice care home. It's the only care home, I think, with that sort of TT view. So it will be you could get all sorts of people in there who are fans of the TT, but at the moment we don't quite know. We don't know how is LV going to make their money out of it. What percentage are they going to be earning? Is it going to be state-sponsored care home residents? Will they be selling some private ones off? If so, will the private ones get better rooms? And what have you? It's as though they kind of pat us on the head and say, there, run along.
I think you've said that to a T, Andy. And what exactly does the government have to say about that? Because I haven't heard a minister come on and say anything. Because they'll all be running around in circles not wanting to answer any questions. So they've dragged somebody out of the woodwork to give us an assurance that it's a good deal, trust me. And was he involved in the negotiations?
I think I once bought a Ford Anglia off somebody who said that. This is a good deal, trust me.
Trust me. And was it a good deal, Andy?
It was a Ford Anglia, you know, the ones with the side breather on the engine.
Yeah, I used to have one, 105E it's called.
Oh.
That's the engine.
Oh, my word.
Brilliant machine. They would last forever.
They had the only problem was the Ford Anglia was, you remember the bonnet used to go the wrong way. It opened up, didn't it?
Yeah. And it did have a little rust problem, but other than that, it was fun.
My bonnet catch broke and it just kept bouncing up and down all the time.
Yeah, see, you had no view of the road anymore.
All right. Got to go. Thanks, Tony.
All right, take care, Andy. All the best. Bye.
Cheers now. 22 minutes to 1.
This is the Isle of Man talking. The Man in Line.
Dreaming of a family adventure? Loganair has you covered with our Kids Fly fare-free offer. Start planning today. Limited time offer booked by 9th July. T's and C's apply. Children aged 11 and under eligible and must fly with full fare-paying accompanying adults. Book today at loganair.co.uk. Loganair. Your journey, our joy.
Welcome to the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale, where you'll find fabulous reductions throughout the store. From beds and flooring to sofas, cane furniture and accessories, rugs, pictures, mirrors and even wallpapers. Plus, the friendly Miller Chaps team are here as always with a warm welcome and expert help and advice when needed. Don't miss the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale. Now on.
Creating a home where you'll love to be. Miller Chaps of Ramsey.
This year's Stage Ed West End Summer School is going to be even more magical, because as well as the chance to work with musical theatre pros and perform in front of family and friends, you could also land a part in Dick Whittington, this year's Christmas pantomime at the Villa Gaiety, supported by Zedra Isle of Man. The Stage Ed Summer School, back at Ballacameen High School Studio Theatre, 22nd to 27th July and 29th July to 3rd August, for all ages from 6 to 18. Visit stage-edholidayschools.com for details and booking. The Stage Ed Summer School with Zedra Isle of Man and your nation station, Manx Radio.
Tune in and chill out with Chris Pearson on Manx Radio.
Make the most of those long, light evenings with the Manx Radio Chill Out Show, Sunday nights from 7. Whether you're relaxing at home, out and about, or rounding off your work end, you'll be more than welcome. Check out the tunes and email chill@manxradio.com.
The Sunday Chill Out. Chris Pearson, Manx Radio. The Man in Line with Andy Wint.
And Stephen's with us now. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, Andy. Hi, listeners. I'd like to also just to talk to you about this, the new care home that's been built by the taxpayer, started off by the department and now given to a private operator. And the aspect I'd like to look at is the employees. Now, I would hope that within the contract, the employees will be able to access a sick pay scheme and access to a pension fund, because let's face it, the care industry is really a vocation, and if somebody is going to commit themselves to this work, they should have the confidence of these two parts of their contract, which would be sick pay scheme and access to a workplace pension. Now, I believe in the UK there has been compulsory workplace pensions introduced, and I just wonder, will this be something on the radar of the government, or will it be on the radar possibly next time of a candidate for the general election to include that in the manifesto? Because we don't want the race to the bottom where we operate these private homes because the saving is in the employment costs. So that's the position I'd like to question and ask: Is this available for the employees?
And it will be interesting to know what the staff levels are there. How many people are they going to employ, and what will they be? How many nurses? How many carers? Whether there's a secure unit there for people with complex needs? You know what it is. How many people are going to be there? And it's been mentioned many times, the situation with employment. The care industry struggles to get people to work. So are they going to be bringing people in?
Absolutely. And if you have been watching any of the hustings programs on the television, this has been raised a number of times, certainly with people in the UK, where the care industry, those who work in the care industry, feel as though they are not valued for the work that they do, and it's something that needs urgent attention. Now, I believe, reading and watching some of the replies from the Labour candidates, that this is something that they do intend to give attention to, and I do hope that happens. So I think we've got to make sure that on the island, that the staff in these homes get the help and they get the employment contract they deserve.
Well, and again, what goes without saying is that the vast majority of people who work in care homes are absolute angels and provide, a service that is, has to be second to none. We want our people in care homes to have the very best service, surely.
Absolutely, Andy and listeners. I don't think there's anybody would not agree with us on this. So, as I say, it'll be important. It'll be interesting to hear any political replies about this matter. And will this legislation be introduced, or was it in the contract to make sure that the employees have a sick scheme and also access to a pension if they want to stay in that vocation?
Okay. All right, Stephen, I appreciate that. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Alex dropped me a note to say, who could afford to go on the Steam Packet 5 times to get a free trip? Can somebody tell us who gets the staff discount? Is it just the employee, or is it relatives, parents, children? Who is it? Uncles, aunts? Who gets it? It was always part of Steam Packet employees' contract that you get travel perks. Lots of the people in the travel industry get those perks. If you work for an airline, you're allowed to go for the jump seat, and you get discounted travel. Certainly when the Steam Packet was owned by Jim Sherwood, when it was Sea Containers, Jim Sherwood's company owned in the UK the LLE, it was the Northeastern, the LNER, London North Eastern Railway. So a lot of people who work for the Steam Packet got cheap rail tickets as well. I don't know that happens now. I'm going to email the tax department and assure them I've not had sufficient income last year and will have to pay income tax. Will they accept that, do you think, says Pete? Yes, assure them. Just say you're giving good value for money. Is this the start of an influx of low-paid staff from abroad, sending the wages home? It doesn't help our economy. If they're bringing in cheap labour, well, we don't know, do we? It will be nice to know. It would be nice if we were given some absolute fact on this. Lots of messages in today, and this is regarding wind turbines. Daphne in Mackle says, if our beautiful country is covered in wind turbines, the Isle of Man's going to look like a pincushion from space. Thank you, Daphne. I just received a letter from Manx Utilities informing me of the installation date of my new smart meter, says Texter 475. Nowhere in it does it say I can opt out of this. So does that mean that the installation is compulsory? Well, we've not been told it's compulsory. It's just that you have to have meter readings if you keep and you have to pay for the meter readings, Texter 475. So I'm assuming, unless anybody tells me to the contrary, that you can say you don't want the smart meter. Dot Tilbury deserves a knighthood, a damehood, says that. Oh, and interesting, I want to point, what about Cav yesterday? Did you see? I watched it live. I was shouting at the television, I don't know about you, but Cav was like a man possessed yesterday, wasn't he? Absolutely sensational. Mark Cavendish, Sir Mark, has now surpassed the great Eddie Merckx. Imagine that. In the world of cycling, Eddie Merckx was an absolute god. And now our own Mark Cavendish has surpassed it. Wow. Do you think we should have a statue? Julie Edge was saying there should be a statue in Onken to Mark Cavendish. I have to point out, though, by the way, I'm not being... I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but there was a Manx rider who won the first tour of the Tour de France. There was a cyclist who was born in County Mayo and died in the Isle of Man in 1994. Millie Robinson. Mildred Robinson, the first winner of the first Tour de France Féminine, the women's Tour de France in 1955, October 1955, Millie Robinson. It was a 5-stage race held in Normandy, and Millie Robinson, who was born in Mayo, but her family moved to the Isle of Man. She was one of 9 children, born in County Mayo, and they relocated in 1935 to the Isle of Man, where she went to Peel Cloth Workers and was a land girl in World War II and got into cycling in World War II, the Manx Viking Wheelers. Millie Robinson won the first Tour de France Féminine in 1955. Millie died, she was diagnosed with cancer in the 1990s. She died in 1994, age 69. And if you're familiar with Westmoreland Road, you can still see an old ghost sign there. Millie Robinson was in partnership with Flash Howell's dad. And the sign still says Howell and Robinson, because they were sign writers. Millie was in partnership. So let's pay tribute. Mark Cavendish, absolute top of the pile, but in 1955, a Manx woman, Mildred Robinson, won the first Tour de France Féminine. Well done to her. Oh, Doug Farragut.
Hello, this is Doug Farragut. In conjunction with Manx Radio, I'd like to invite you to join us and learn something about our native Gaelic tongue, the language of man.
Doug Farragut. You often hear Doug Farragut pop up on Man in Line talking about, I'd like to introduce you to our Manx language. Well, let me just put this into focus. The name Doug Farragut. Our own Bob Carswell, of course, who hosts Clare na Gael on Sunday night, the Manx language programme, has paid tribute to Doug Farragut, the man who introduced the Manx language to Manx radio over 50 years ago. Doug Farragut went on to produce the Manx Language Dictionary. Doug Farragut, he's the boy. He also worked for Manx Radio, sold advertising, I think also had a greengrocer store at one time. In 1970, 54 years ago, Doug Farragut broadcast the first ever news bulletin to be read in Manx. Let's let Bob Carswell, Bobby Bob John Billy's got something to say about this. But first of all, here's a snippet from Doug Farragut's first bulletin.
Out and about this summer, EVF service stations have everything you need to make the most of it. Hot and cold food, chilled wine and beers, barbecue essentials and more. You can even pick up your lottery tickets at our stations across the island. Fill up, fuel up with Ellen Vannin Fuels. Visit us at evf.co.im. Stocks and offers may vary between locations.
Here you go, Doug.
Now time for news in Manx.
Tá sé géisteach leis radio Mananach was dúlis Ellen Vannin. A há dú náach na seachtain and a lei learis dúlis a caracha.
The person who introduced the Manx language to Manx Radio was the great campaigner for the Manx language, Dúlis a Caracha, Doug Farragut, and he got permission from Manx Radio to present a news bulletin in Manx. The first one of those was broadcast on Sunday the 11th of October 1970. You notice that Doug refers to Radio Mananach.
Radio Mananach was Dulish Elan Vannon.
Literally Manx Radio, rather than Radio Vanning, the radio of man, which it later became. I think the change dates from 1977 when Doug came to work at Manx Radio. All in all, the Manx language and Manx Radio have come a long way since that first news bulletin read by Doug Farragher, Dúlaise Carracha, on Sunday the 11th of October 1970.
The Shen Kojera Nayak na Shachtin son a Shachtin show was Dúlaise Carracha, Banach Yeru.
Isn't that great? What a voice, Doug Farragher. And you can see Bobby Bob John Billy Bob Carswell's going to be on duty at Tynwald Day tomorrow at St John's with his wig on.
Hello, this is Doug Farragher. In conjunction with Manx Radio, I'd like to invite you to join us and learn something about our native Gaelic tongue, the language of man.
Greetings, Manx Radio listeners. Adam Partridge here, TV auctioneer from BBC Flogget. I'm going to be visiting the island with my team of valuers for a week from Saturday the 6th of July. We're offering free valuations on all areas of antiques and fine art, including paintings, jewellery, silver, watches, coins, medals, ceramics and more. Come and meet us at the Comus Hotel on Monday the 8th of July from 2 till 7pm or get in touch for a free home visit. Don't miss out because by Friday we'll be going, gone. For more information visit adampartridge.co.uk.
Dave at number 3's out cleaning that new car again.
Third time today. Her at number 7 says he was sitting in it all yesterday with a big soppy smile on his face.
I wonder what his secret is.
The bloke at number 10 says it's the Conister feeling.
Look out for any Conister Bank approved partner dealerships to give you the Conister feeling too. All loans are subject to status. Terms and conditions apply. Early settlement fees apply.
Until the 14th of July, you have the chance to win an LG 65-inch TV, courtesy of Waltons. Each week on the Manx Radio Facebook page will be a scrambled footballer's name. All you have to do is identify the person. To enter, tune in each weekday evening to Greatest Hits or Saturday Live, where we will announce a window of opportunity and you will have 5 minutes to text your answer and your full name to 166 177. The winner will be announced on Monday the 15th of July, so keep listening for your chance to win with Waltons and your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Man in Line with Andy Wint.
Marie said, Andy, I see the planners have approved the building of 159 odd houses at the Vollen. The early commute's going to be a nightmare. There's only one route from the north into Ramsey. With the traffic trying to merge from the North Shore roads, terrible now Bowring Road, known as the Sandy for a reason. Are the planners aware of what is under this major route, not forgetting the old stone bridge, says Marie. Yes, more than 150 new houses in the north of the Isle of Man have been recommended for approval. The planning committee made that decision on Hertford Homes proposals for Vollen Fields. So 153 new homes, mix of terrace and semi-detached, and some bungalows. 114 open market, so that's 39 affordable. Approval in principle for a primary school. Ramsey commissioners have got concerns with regards to the infrastructure, doctors, dentists and traffic, environmental protection within DEFA as well. Manx Care, the construction of additional properties in the north will put additional demand on NHS dental services, which will struggle to accommodate. Well, we know what that means. DESC have got concerns over capacity at the town's schools, calls on Treasury to support work to increase capacity at Ramsey Grammar School. We watch and we wait what happens with that. Did you note that Moody's have given us the thumbs up? Moody's, the Manx economic growth is stronger than in most of Europe, according to Moody's, the credit ratings agency. The organisation's annual look at the Isle of Man's financial standing found a robust record of economic growth with high income levels. We've got an AA3 stable rating. Moody's says it could be upgraded if there was upward pressure on the UK rating, as well as technological or regulatory changes, while highlighting a labour shortage as one of the main challenges facing the economy. Get it? A labour shortage. Not enough people who work. It may be there are lots of people who can work who don't bother to on the Isle of Man, or maybe we just need more people in, like the 15,000 the Chief Minister talks about. The Treasury Minister said this demonstrates the Isle of Man is on the right path, according to Dr. Allinson. Got any thoughts on that? Well, of course, tomorrow's the big day. We'll be at Tynwald. I'll be there first thing in the morning, talking to the politicians, and John Moss will be commentating on the whole procedures. I don't think there are going to be any MPs from the UK there, simply because they don't know who's going to be in a job tomorrow. Could you ask the MHKs tomorrow if they participate in the religious part of Tynwald Day, or but wanting the bishop out of Ledgeco, says Texter 366. How can Manxcare decide that a facility built to replace Rayton Bay, a government-delivered elderly care facility, can be transferred to a private provider without Tynwald approval? This is public money, says Texter 572. Manxcare said a short time ago they couldn't staff the new home. Well, if LV can staff it, did Manxcare try hard enough? Or didn't they actually want to? Didn't they want the hassle of recruiting staff and looking after them and the pension and everything that goes with it? So surely this is no transparency on costs. Now, says 572, if our MHKs are continuing to allow this lack of transparency with taxpayers' money whilst increasing our taxes for healthcare, then really we need to seriously question them. This nonsense about the Northern Civic Community Society is beyond a joke. There are 2 private white van and man services taking waste from the parish of Bride to the site. Is that true? Fran, come on, have you got photos? Have you got information about this? So somebody's tried to circumvent the system and play it that way. Fran, really? Every day, says Ian, I become disillusioned with the government on the Isle of Man, from MHKs to heads of government departments. They appear to treat the public as an inconvenience. Money's no object, as they incur vast sums of our money on schemes which are always over budget. I've reached the point where if we had our own military, I'd support a military coup. I would get back to Roy MacDonald in the 1960s now. Government seriously failing the public, and this needs to stop, says Ian. It appears untimely receipt of ballot papers has caused people residing here not to vote in the election in the UK. Surely this isn't acceptable. Anybody know if there's anything that we can do about it? Right, that's it. No man in line tomorrow because we're early in the morning at about 9:45. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones. Back on Monday, open line.
WINT